Whether it's through the prism of a complicated man dressed up as a bat to escape his demons, the complex combat for the survival of our planet tearing a family apart, the yearning of outdoing two Christian Bales, or the pursuit of closure with a loved one, and everything in between, Christopher Nolan is no stranger to exploring humanity's potential for our own self-destruction. And now, his most explosive, overt examination of such themes has arrived. I'm Ren, and this is my review of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Welcome back, movie fans. It is no secret for longtime viewers of mine how excited I have been for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, as much as the entirety of film Twitter seems to be. For those who don't know, he's my favorite director of all time. It was Batman Begins that made me decide I wanted to be a director myself. And his latest work tells the story of American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb during World War II. And if for nothing else, Oppenheimer is a fascinating look into Christopher Nolan's intelligence as a filmmaker. He's one of the very rare directors out there these days that not only has the power, but chooses to challenge himself and story structure and genre conventions and challenge an audience as to what they are watching and the craft on a technical level that he brings to each and every single one of his films. But Christopher Nolan never settles for just winning an audience over through mesmerizing visuals and thought-provoking characterization. He's an intelligent storyteller who values and respects his audience's intelligence. So he does not play the long game having you wonder if the bomb is going to go off, if they're going to create the atomic bomb. You know it happens, he knows it happens, so what he delivers is a political thriller meets courtroom drama that not only offers a deep self-reflection, exploring a man's inner turmoil at what he created, but also displays the tragic and enormous ramifications of how the world changed with this creation. And like the best political thrillers, Nolan injects an unnerving sense of paranoia and claustrophobia into his storytelling as we see Oppenheimer trapped, confronted by all these questions, questioning his character, his integrity, his loyalty, as at the same time we run back to him racing towards the inevitable. And it is frightening to see the journey of this character as much as it is kind of inspiring at the same time due to his passion, his intelligence. And when it comes to the courtroom drama side of things, the dialogue in this film is excellent. It is captivating at every single moment. Every single word feels like a knife. It's such good dialogue, perhaps the best in any Christopher Nolan movie ever. It feels like you're watching an action set piece, despite literally watching people sitting down, talking to one another, because every exchange is laced with intensity and is so rich in subtext. It gives you so much information about who these characters are, who these characters have become. It feels earned as you're watching these characters transform through the film. And it makes for a very compelling, unpredictable experience despite knowing where ultimately it is all going. And these two halves of Oppenheimer ultimately come together because Christopher Nolan wisely frames it all as a tragedy, where he illustrates through the nonlinear narrative and Oppenheimer's character journey the fine line between ambition and obsession, and how ultimately this man's overwhelming creation and the power it brought haunts him for the rest of his life, where he is asked, he is pursued to deliver this creation to the powers that be in the US government, only to be interrogated about his integrity and loyalty, but no one is questioning the morality, the ethics of what was created, while he self reflects on what has just become of the world around him. But that is never brought into question. And there's something truly powerful about that being presented through the eyes of Oppenheimer, what it truly unleashed in the long run. And in that sense, Oppenheimer feels like the culmination of Christopher Nolan's entire filmography in a gripping and meticulously crafted character study, where he approaches the story through a non-linear narrative with several different perspectives than on any other hand would easily feel convoluted and crumble to the ground. But it's his skillful hand at editing, precise cuts, precise turnaways with black and white sequences and color sequences that are clear in the perspective they show. And he just has this way of having films that, no matter how long, in the case of Oppenheimer, 3 hours, that just feel like they have no fat, where every scene is essential, where there's an added layer of intensity and tension through specific lines of dialogue, specific character relationships that are created and developed. The film is never shy about exploring Oppenheimer, his wife, Strauss, or any of the other multiple characters in the film with a morally ambiguous approach that highlights their hubris, their ego, and how those characteristics are what brought upon the creation of the atomic bomb. There's an unshakable passion and conviction to these characters for science, to achieve something unimaginable that makes for a compelling watch with interesting, complex dynamics, but it's Nolan's lens that captures the cruelty, the inhumanity, and the true darkness of what was trying to be achieved. But how no one truly grasped the horror of this creation, as everyone is vying for control and ultimately discussing, is this a victory for science? Is this a victory for the United States government? Is this a victory for the army? And all of this is illustrated with a true bleakness and some really well handled dark humor through the film. And this is also a stacked cast. There are names and names and names, from the smallest characters to the big starring actors in the film. And I love how Nolan treats all of these actors as just their characters. There are familiar faces that have one scene, there are familiar faces that have one line, there are recognizable actors that are just in the background and make this world feel lived in, which is one of the best elements when it comes to the immersion in Oppenheimer. And everyone is excellent. Florence Pugh, with her limited screen time, is absolutely fearless. Emily Blunt has a show-stealing scene opposite Jason Clarke, and Robert Downey Jr. might have just given his best performance ever. He is so stripped down of any pomp and circumstance. This is just real, raw character work, and Downey Jr. nails it at every scene as much as does Cillian Murphy. This is the best performance I have seen from him, without a doubt. I think he's got this Oscar in the bag. There's an intensity to this man, there's a vulnerability to him, and the silences are deafening. Because this is a guy with so much intelligence, this is a guy who's so defying of authority, with so much to say and so much to command, because he was overseeing this overwhelming project with a lot of egos clashing. And there's so much that he does just with his eyes, but it's not just his eyes. There's real body language. This man is locked in entirely into becoming J. Robert Oppenheimer. There's not a single frame where you doubt this is the destroyer of worlds. I found myself in awe of Cillian Murphy for the entire 3 hours of this film, because he has to play such different sides of the character throughout several years, whether he's being interrogated years after the creation of the atomic bomb. He has to play the scientist, eager and convicted about having this creation, and the man after witnessing what he created, with a thought-provoking, intimate look at his inner turmoil. The last hour of this film is astounding. The entire film is spectacular, but I don't remember the last time where the final hour of a film was, you thought it was going hard until now, just watch me. And it kept going to a whole nother level. And speaking of other level, the cinematography, it is flawless. I watched this film in 17 millimeter. It's obviously shot for IMAX, and it does look immense. But what distinguishes Oppenheimer from any other IMAX shot film is not only Christopher Nolan and his cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema, is how he uses IMAX to get in close, to get intimate with these characters, and not capture necessarily just the spectacle, just the immensity, the size, the scope of what this film, this entire movie is about, but to capture drama, raw, intense, powerful drama, powerful conversations between characters. And Christopher Nolan is one of the most unique filmmakers in how he can deliver a mature, intelligent drama that is for adults and manages to make all these conversations so thought-provoking. The score by Ludwig Göransson that complements the imagery so much. It is one of the best scores of the year and perhaps the best score in the man's young career. And you all know Ludwig van Göransson, he only has bangers. The entire soundscape of Oppenheimer is fascinatingly complex, as is the haunting, disturbing imagery that Van Hoytema captures, looking deep inside into Oppenheimer's self-conscious and exploring this man and how he views the world at one stage in his life and how he completely views it differently at another. Whether we're following Oppenheimer himself, whether he's sitting down, being interrogated, really assaulted verbally throughout the entire film, or we're following Strauss with these intense black and white sequences years after the creation of the atomic bomb and exploring how the world has received the impact of this creation. So suffice it to say, Christopher Nolan has done it again. He offers a dense, complex, intimate look at a man's creation and explores the wider ramifications of his doings at the same time with a level of intricacy that is so distinctly his. It might just be his magnum opus, and it's the kind of film that it demands to be rewatched again and again to catch just all the little details as much as you admire the craft behind the camera. I don't quite think everything works. There are so many characters in this film that some relationships are ill-defined and feel underdeveloped. Some elements were lost in there. I think Nolan did a fantastic job in bringing all these incredible actors to play the most minimal of characters, but it's just how the most minimal of characters were handled sometimes. I don't think all the relationships are as significant as the film itself claims they are. Those might be nitpicks, but apart from that, I have no qualms with Oppenheimer. My favorite director has done it again. So as I dive into my final thoughts on Oppenheimer, it's time for you to start the conversation in the comments below. What is your favorite Christopher Nolan movie? How excited are you for Oppenheimer? And are you pulling the Barbenheimer double feature? Anything and everything down there in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this review but are curious for my review for Barbie, it's right up here as well as many other Christopher Nolan reviews. Or if you just want to talk more movies and TV, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Oppenheimer is one viscerally chilling character study, frighteningly complex and introspective. Every breathtaking frame brims with a tense sense of paranoia, elevated by an unnerving soundscape and a magnificent score, on top of truly outstanding work by Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and a collectively top-tier cast, capturing the deconstruction of one man's self-examination on his own morality when confronted by the horror of his creation. I'm giving Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer an A. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to start the conversation in the comments below about the best double feature of the year, Barbenheimer, and big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel. I'll be back very soon with more videos. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.